Hey, everybody, it's Michael Rosbrook, also known as the Roz Man, and I have with us today on the Tax Resolution Success podcast show, Justin Miller, president of Profit 911 Business Consulting. Welcome to the show, Justin.
Thanks, Michael. Honored to be here.
Yeah, appreciate you. So, first of all, nobody knows what 911 Profit 911 Business Consulting is. So, number one, tell us a little bit about your business, but also more importantly, tell me how you got started in this.
Yeah, so at this point, we're a marketing agency that does online and offline integrated marketing, meaning we do everything fancy with CRMs and computers, but right below me, there's 3,000 square feet of print and direct mail operation as well, which is kind of a strange combination. But not as strange as my journey into the current world I'm in. So way back when, I've been an entrepreneur forever, but I was a disc jockey is what I was. For 20 years, I grew a disc jockey business. And I'll give you the short version. The secret sauce of that business was that I was a marketer and I loved marketing. And I learned how to play that game and I learned how to sell. And it came to a point after about year 14 or 15, I decided, well, that's all I really want to do was the marketing in that business. So I then became behind the scenes and just kind of the driver of the ship, the captain of the ship, and coming up with the marketing ideas, and kind of dabbled my toe into consulting and was able to help some people. And ultimately about 3 years ago, sold that enterprise. Thankfully at this point and due to COVID, but sold that enterprise. And now we're a full-time marketing agency helping others implement things very similar to what I did in my own company.
So not only do you have like a print and mail house, but you also do consulting as well for entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people need help with the strategy as well, not just the tactical.
Right.
Honestly, I wish people came to me with ready to go stuff and said, hey, print this and send it out the door. Our lives would be very easy here. But no, we do all encompassing marketing campaigns, everything from the time a lead's generated through automated follow-up, through physical mail, even going out the door as well.
So, wow, that's pretty good. So as a disc jockey, what did you play mostly? Clubs or weddings or?
So we did high-end weddings was kind of the niche we played in because that's where the money was at.
Yeah.
And we did big production. So we had tons of lighting and sound equipment, and we were companies that would hang stuff off ceilings. So we did the big shows, the weddings that we're trying to impress.
All right, cool. All right, so let's talk about the one thing that you're known to me for, and I think your passion is direct mail.
Yeah, direct mail is taking over here at a rapid pace.
Yeah, so how can that be? I mean, we're in 2021. Everything has moved online. I mean, I think the pandemic has compressed, the next 4 or 5 years probably into a few months with what's happened. So how can direct mail be popular? I mean, you're kidding me. Putting something in the mail and actually someone opening it and taking an action. Can you explain that to us?
Yeah, on the surface, it does seem really strange now, doesn't it? But the reason it's popular is because it's unpopular. So I actually did a seminar several years ago that was unpopular marketing strategies that work, and direct mail was one of them. So on the surface, one of the reasons is because not many people do it. Yeah. And in 2020, even less people did it. There were some Postal Service surveys that came out amongst everything going on in 2020 and said that receiving a physical piece of mail, people feel more attachment to. It was like 54%, say they feel more sentiment when they get something. I don't know the exact stat, but funny enough, they had time to do a whole survey last year. So people get something tangible. They have a different feeling about that rather than, maybe a Facebook ad in their feed. So it's a good way to get attention, assuming you have a viable product or service to sell once you have that attention.
Yeah. So, I read somewhere too, I think it was on the same site that you just referenced, where this was about a year ago or so, that the average person only gets one personalized letter once every 62 days. So mailboxes are pretty much uncluttered, except for the junk mail and the catalogs and your bills. If you're still not using bill pay, you're still getting physical physical bills. So,
Michael, that's probably on the high end. Once every 2 months for receiving something personal. I think they averaged out everyone's Christmas cards there throughout the year.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And don't get me wrong, I'm a big proponent of online marketing as well, including radio, Google Ads, Facebook, SEO, blog posts, websites, landing pages, funnels. I'm a big believer in all of that. But what people don't realize is direct mail done right works. And what are the, I have my own checklist of ingredients for a proper direct mail campaign that would be successful. But what are yours, Justin?
Good question. So always have an offer of some sorts. And this does not mean always sell something. So this is a challenge for some people because a lot of times we're doing just lead generation.
Yep.
And the whole point of the mailing campaign is just to get someone to either pick up the phone, fill out a form online, or email for more information. So that is an offer, but it needs to be spelled out. So always have an offer. I like smaller lists. So I would rather have someone take a list of 500 people and mail it 3 or 4 times than take a list of 1,500 people and mail it once. So repetition would be the next one. Clear call to action, multiple ways to respond. So if you want them to call in, you probably should also have something online for them, assuming you can get that set up. What else? There's lots of tweaks with the physical mail prep, but I think we'll go there in a minute.
Yes.
But you want to try and have this not perceived as junk mail. So
right.
A lot of the reason people don't send mail is A, they have to pay for postage.
Yep.
B, everything they receive at home, they consider junk mail and they throw away. So they're assuming if they mail something, it's going to get thrown away.
So you hit on something real important is that there always needs to contain an offer. And what was important that you said is you're not selling a service or a product with your direct mail. Okay, you're not going, you can't get married with one letter. You got to start what I call dating with one letter or 2 letters or 3 letters. And the dating means the call to action is exactly what you said. Call us, go online to this URL, or the other one would be, what did you mention? What was the third one?
You go to a landing page, you could email, text in is becoming more and more popular if you have a manner to respond to those. Now, if you're not going to respond and you don't have text messaging software, I don't recommend that.
Right.
But if you're set up for that, that's becoming more and more popular. So it's a different industry, but we did a campaign for a tree service. And it was an every door direct mail campaign to neighborhoods that have trees. And I was kind of shocked. So we had 3 response mechanisms. We had text in for an estimate, we had call in for an estimate, and we had a URL for a landing page. And the number one was text in, followed very quickly by phone in, and the online was the bottom.
Wow.
Now we did find some people actually found their way to the main website rather than the special URL and submitted that way. But I was quite shocked that text was that high. And this was, general population. So since it's every door direct mail, it shouldn't really skew other than the neighborhood itself. And
right. Yeah, I actually like every door direct mail, and that's a service by the postal service where the postage rate is greatly discounted. And for those that are listening, listen up for a second. Due to COVID-19, if you were able to get a route in your location that is the business route, the main boulevard where the mom and pop stores are, where the restaurants are, that 40% of them are not going to be around, where all the devastation has occurred due to COVID-19, that would be a great place to do an every door direct mail campaign for IRS problem clients, especially businesses that are hurting. I just kind of popped into my head. I know a lot of accountants use every door direct mail for their year end or their tax prep part of the business, and you guys are discounting and couponing, which I am totally against. That's why I advocate tax resolution over all of those other commoditized services. But I just thought of that would be a great place to do like a multi-step 3-part mailing to businesses on that route.
Yeah, if you know the area personally and can put boots on the ground to see it before you mail it,
Yeah.
that could potentially be an avenue. Yes.
Do you see different success rates, and I guess that means response rates, where where a business is mailing direct to consumer or a business is mailing to another business, B2B?
Yeah, I'm not sure I have a direct comparison because most of the people we deal with are high value service providers. And I believe tax resolution would fall into that category, which means tiny numbers make this work.
Yep.
Like a couple inquiries off a mailing could be a massive financial win for the client. So they're not usually out there bragging about it. Amongst your closed member group, you guys cheer each other on, but amongst the
Yes.
general public, they don't tend
Right.
to tell people what's going. What we see is we see all of a sudden the mail volume increases for someone. That's how we know something's
That's
working.
working. Yeah.
You go
I mean,
from 1,000 pieces to 3 to 5 to 10 a month, and
yes.
you know something's going on.
Direct mail is interesting because and people don't understand it. And I think they don't understand it because they probably don't track their numbers. I mean, if you're going to be in the direct marketing business, you got to know thy numbers like the back of your hand. And I was speaking to one of our members a couple months ago, and we had a coaching call, and she said, "Mike, I've been trying this direct mail that you've been recommending, and it's just hasn't worked." And I said, "Okay, I understand. Let me ask you a couple questions." And I asked her, "How many pieces did you mail?" And I think it was 1,000 pieces. And I know the piece was good and everything. And I said, "Well, how many calls did you get?" She said, "I got 3 calls." I go, "Okay, cost per lead is if you do 1,000-piece mailing, you're probably in $1.10 a piece, right? I mean, without any fancy stuff. So you're in it for like $1,100. I said, "Okay, you got 3 calls. The cost per lead's a little high." And she said, "I only got 1 client." I go, "Oh, okay. What do you know what the total value of that case was?" And she goes to me, $27,000. And remember, she started this conversation off by saying direct mail doesn't work.
Yep.
So I told her that, well, your cost per acquisition is $1,100. You made 27,000 on 1 client. What's the ROI on that? What is it, like 26 to 1, 27 to 1? Some crazy, ridiculous number. I said to her, "Why in the world would you stop mailing? Why in the world would you stop mailing?" So you got to know your numbers. You got to trace everything from cost per lead to cost per acquisition, all the way through conversion, so that you know what the value of a case is worth off of your mailings. And that's very, very important. Do you have those conversations as well?
Yeah, I mean, keeping in mind too, it may be inconsistent. So she might now blank for another month. Like next month, there might be no case. So now we're at 2,200.
So
which
what?
In this case still makes sense.
Yeah.
But when you flip flop, it's the problem we have then. Say the first month she mailed and got nothing.
Yes.
Uh-oh. Now we're thinking that money's going out the door. And it is. It's very real money going out the door. But a lot of the numbers we're dealing with for high value service providers, just the bottom line is they're not statistically significant. We can't say, okay, I got 1 this one, 0 this one. Statistically, does that matter? If you're a nerd, you run it through the calculator. No. Right. So we have to go on real dollars is what we're tracking here.
You're right. Yeah. If you're doing this for the first time and you blank on the first month, in other words, you spend, let's say $1,100 and you get nothing in return, you're very, very skeptical about continuing. And what I say to my members is, okay, let's take off your accountant hat for a second and put on your businessman's hat. And what I tell them is, look, you got to stay the course at least for 90 days. You got to give it 90 days to make sure or to see if it kicks in. And usually 90% of the time, if you're doing this month in, month out for 90 days straight, it should pencil out and you should be well on your way to doing direct mail. Look, when I was doing millions of dollars a year in business in my tax resolution practice, direct mail was always a marketing strategy that we utilized. We mailed to people with notices of federal tax liens, and a lot of our members do that as well. We mailed out, I think, 6,500 physically mailed newsletters every month. Newsletter marketing works. It's harder to trace ROI in a newsletter, but it works. I mean, I was a big believer, and so are you, Justin. I know that if they're on my list, they either have to buy, die, or unsubscribe to get off. I mean, if you pay for the lead, why would you not keep following up? So let's talk about the physicality of the piece, because that is super, super important. I can't stress enough. You can have the best offer in your letter, the best content of the package, but if these ingredients are not there, you're not going to have success.
Yeah. So the overall approach is to try and make this thing be opened, and there's different ways to do that. The number one is you can try and make it look more like personal mail. So in my world, we're mailing bulk rate mail, which puts us at a disadvantage if it appears like bulk rate mail. With the liens in particular. So I know people that have been on the receiving end of those, they get 5, 7, 8 of them in the mail, right? So they're kind of eyeballing them up. So with bulk rate, I would have the option to mail for someone and just write my permit number in there and not put a stamp on it, which would be a massive mistake.
Yep.
If it was a postcard, I probably would. It doesn't really make a difference. But if we're talking a letter, a sales letter, we want a physical stamp applied. Now, the general public doesn't know the difference between a pre-canceled and a first-class live stamp. So I'm cool with that trade-off in order to save people money in general, unless there's a specific reason.
Okay.
Right now, actually, as we record this in early 2021, there is a case for mailing expensive rate. And that's because the post office is a mess behind the scenes, which I'll talk about more in a minute. So a stamp, if we can, we try and make it look like handwriting. For the to address. So our default is to use a handwriting font in a blue ink that looks like it may have come out of a pen. Can you tell that's not real handwriting? If you're a marketer,
yes.
General public, they're not going to give it a second glance.
Right.
Again, we're just trying to get it open. Once it's open, we have a new challenge. The other thing is what's in the return address block. So you could send with nothing in the return address if you were doing a full rate stamp. It looks kind of weird if you've been on the receiving end of a letter with nothing for the return address. So I'm not sure you want to go that route because all of a sudden my guard's up.
Yep.
You could do your name. So Michael Rosbrook and your address there, which they'd be wondering, I don't think I know a Michael Rosbrook.
Right.
What's this about? You could do that. You could put your company name and logo there like a branded envelope. Typically, if they don't know who the heck you are, though, that's going to hurt you more than help you. Because now you look the same as the credit card advertisements they got in the mail. Look like a big corporate entity, which is not in general what most response-based marketers want. Those are kind of your options. So by default, for most of your clients that are mailing through us, we're mailing with return address, street address only. No name, because they don't know who the heck they are. That does not help them get it opened if it's a stranger's name. So we're just trying to play a little bit of mystery. Hopefully the return address is in the general geographic vicinity as the recipient. And they're wondering who it is enough to open it.
Yeah, no, I think that's a brilliant strategy. I love the 2-line return address without your name or logo or company name, just the street address, state, city, and zip, I think is actually brilliant. Yeah. And okay, so that will get open. I mean, that will get open as opposed to something that looks like an advertisement.
Yeah, in general, you're going to get more of those opened. The only person that's going to know that was bulk mail would be a marketer. So you and I probably sort our mail a little different than the general public.
Right.
We can see bulk stuff and decide whether or not we want to open it. But that'll get it open. I mean, once it's open, though, you have the second challenge is getting the thing read, right?
Okay.
So a lot of people don't pay any mind to how something goes in an envelope. Only when you get deep in the weeds do you start thinking about this. And the proper response is most people open it with the back facing them, so the flap facing them.
Okay.
So when they pull something out that way, we want your headline or whatever your top line is to be the first thing they see.
Got it.
So if I grab a letter and someone's going to hand fold it, they tend to fold it letter inward, right?
Yes.
Blank paper on the outside.
Yes.
This is not what you want to do from a marketing angle. You want to have your headline be seen when it comes out.
Got it.
Which, by the way, from a production standpoint, is kind of a pain. don't make a heck of a lot of machines that do that.
Oh, wow.
So that's one more reason you're going to show up a little different. So sometimes adding something with a little weight or thickness can help.
Yeah.
We have a lot of people that will just add a brochure because it's cheap. The most expensive part of this is labor and postage.
Yes.
Adding another page does not proportionately increase the cost. Some people add business cards. I could take or leave the business card. I like the brochures. They have a little bit of staying power if someone's
Yes.
somewhat interested. So a lot of this boils down to just getting the thing opened, and then something that's a little beyond our control, which is right person, right time.
So what do you mean by that?
Yeah. So if we've picked the right mailing list, we have the right person. So if you're doing liens per se,
Yes.
you know who has a lien, you have the right person.
You're right.
But we have to arrive at the right time, which is outside of our control, meaning to get that message paid attention to, someone has to be mad about their tax lien that day.
Yep.
You know, if they don't care, all the advertisements for that day are going in the bin. But something has to have happened to trigger them to make them responsive to the message. And this is why the repetition is important. Because the first time, you might not get too much beyond a second glance. Second time, they might recognize where it was from. Third time, again, you know, it's just timing. And if your prospect's worth a lot of money to you,
yep,
then you might be in a buy or die situation, like we were talking about with our newsletters. You know, newsletters approximately $1 a month for most companies to get out the door as well. In most cases, for a service provider business with a 5 to 6 figure service, you leave them on the rest of their life. Times 10, and it financially makes sense.
That's what I did.
Yeah. I mean, my previous business, which was a wedding business where people only get married once.
Yep.
In general, or only spend heavily once.
Yes. Yes.
We left them on there because we figured if they referred one person in 40 years, it paid to have them on there. That's the math breakdown.
Wow. Yeah. That's good. That's important to know. That's amazing, actually. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. So, what else? What are some of the other secrets, if there are? What's like the secret sauce to getting it opened? And once it's opened, I mean, so getting it opened is number one. Getting it read is number two, and the big one is having them take action. And you're right. Something has to be going on that day. Maybe they actually, they got a lien, but now the IRS can actually levy their assets. They can, garnish their paycheck up to 90% of their net pay. They can go into their bank account. I mean, if they really get creative and they don't like you, they can actually seize your real property and other assets. I had a client a few years ago who had both his ski-doos stolen outside his garage, not stolen, but taken by the IRS outside his garage. And if that happened and your letter arrived, I imagine you're probably getting a phone call that day.
Yeah, it could be that. It could be spouse or significant other said, hey, you really need to do something about this. Yeah. It could be like a notice of lien or back taxes sent to like everyone they've ever associated with business wise. I've seen that happen to people. Even if it shouldn't go out, the letters tend to still go out from the IRS. Something that said, okay, I need to deal with this. And that's why in some cases, the exact same letter sent from 2 different companies to 2 different lists may work amazing for this company this month and may bomb for the other. I mean, bottom line is that's what it comes down to, assuming the list was good. The other thing we recommend people do is spend the time going through their list, which is a tedious process, and using their own personal bias to remove people they don't think are likely to respond.
Right.
So one of your strategies is to mail PTIN holders.
Yes.
And we do a lot of those letters, and it's very easy to go on the IRS website, download that list.
Yep.
And it's going to be full of a lot of people that likely will never refer you.
Right. Yeah. And by the way, everyone, PTIN means personal tax identification number. So anyone in this country that prepares a return for a fee has to register with the IRS and get what's called a PTIN number. And I think there's like 750,000 PTIN holders in the country, but you're exactly correct. So yeah, that list, it should not go to the big 4 accounting firms. It should not go to the big box do-it-yourself retailers like Liberty Tax, H&R Block, Tax Act, etc. Those are the big ones that come to mind that it should not be mailed to.
Yeah. So someone has to take the time to go through and make that. Or if you're mailing your local geography, you may have people that you just don't want to see your marketing too.
Yes.
And take those off the list. And that's a question we get asked often, can we filter the list for them? The answer is no, because it's your own bias as a business owner to pull them out. Now I can give them the general guidance you just did, if they're major and they're going to handle it in-house, no go. If they're a revolving door tax prep place and they're just not going to refer outside,
right,
no go. But there's plenty of middle ground there.
Yep.
And that same scenario plays out for most mailing lists as well, not just this particular instance. Is going through and taking the time to save money up front so you can send more to the appropriate people is well worth the time invested. And unfortunately, usually it has to go to higher end management in the company to do.
So before I forget, Justin, give out your contact information if people wanted to learn more about what you do.
Yeah, so you can hop on our website, profit911.biz, profit911.biz. You can call our office, 309-767-0004. I will say, Michael, one of the funny things of working with your industry in particular is preparers pick up the phone. So we're a digital marketing agency, and our phones, could not ring for weeks. But yeah, if you have questions, you can call us. It was just kind of strange when we started working with your industry a little more. Everyone likes to use the phone.
Yeah, a lot of them are old school.
Which is fine. Yeah, so either profit911.biz or give us a call, 309-767-0004. You can also text message that if you want, and you're in to that way. But I'm happy to talk with anyone, and we can talk about how all these scenarios apply to your business. Because there are little tweaks depending upon the nature of your business. But in general, all these strategic advice I've given here holds true across the board.
Good. All right. Any last parting words? No, before that, though, what do you see as the future of direct mail?
Well, I would like to see us mail more. I think that there's more of a political question there than you probably meant to ask. As long as the Postal Service keeps everything reasonable and gets back to their former delivery glory, it definitely should be in most business owners' tool bag. I think most people hesitate due to cost. I mean, it sounds, I can run an ad online for a couple cents per person to see it. Now I'm talking, $1 per thing. So that's tough to wrap your head around if you've never done it.
Yes.
But if you commit to a time frame and a budget and see what results and, hold it accountable, you probably won't stop doing it. You may shift. You may shift to different things or postcards versus letters or different offers, but likely it should be in the mix. Now, I did mention earlier, and I do want to mention real quick. So behind the scenes, we're recording in February 2021. Behind the scenes right now, post office is a bit of a disaster for delivery. So if you're mailing anything with a time-sensitive offer, probably full rate is what you should be doing. So a real live stamp. Otherwise, just keep in mind that your delivery time frame, if we do bulk rate to save money for an offer that's not time-sensitive per se, I've seen things delivered 5-6 weeks after we mail it right now. It's absolutely insane.
Wow.
Typically, the maximum time frame would be 2 weeks for that service.
Yeah, so you've seen 5 to 6 weeks in some instances?
Yep, absolutely craziness right now.
Wow.
Even on first class pre-sort, it's delayed pretty heavily too. I think second week in January, I still got a Christmas card that was postmarked December 6th. So
wow. Yeah. Well,
so keep that in mind too. If you're just starting, you're going to have a little build inside postal warehouses, taking a while to get out.
All right. Any last parting words, Justin?
No, I mean, really it comes down to get started. So all the numbers I threw out were kind of hypothetical quantities. I don't care if you can mail 200 pieces and that's all you can do, go for it. I think a lot of people get scared by that. I said, we have clients that mail 5,000-10,000 a month. Don't be jumping in the water. And also don't start falling for if I mail the larger list less times, and I just get this fraction of a percentage response, I'll be rich.
Yeah.
That's like playing the lottery. And that sometimes when you get traction, you start doing that too. You want to ramp up real quick. We'll help walk that line with you and figure out what's best.
All right, cool. All right, this has been great. So yeah, if anyone wants to learn about the lucrative tax resolution niche, just go to rozstrategies.com. That's ROZ strategies.com. We have a lot of free resources online. And Justin, give out your info one more time.
Yep, profit911.biz.
Profit911.biz. Justin, I know you're a busy guy. You got to get down to the floor below you, make sure the machines are running on time.
I try and stay out of there.
All right, very good. Thank you. Thanks for your time. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right, bye. Hey, Michael Rosberg here, the Roz Man, the tax resolution guy. Go check out my podcast, The Tax Resolution Success Show, on Apple or Google. Subscribe, or you can go to my website, rozstrategies.com, and go to the podcast page. It's a great show. Hope you subscribe. I'll see you there.